it is really up to Google to manage its crisis of caste. We have had bigots try to run doxxing campaigns. They've run disinformation campaigns. They've tried to find my parents and inflict harm on them. I was supposed to speak at Google to give a talk about caste in newsrooms for the Google News division. I had already spoken, in a public-facing talk for Google around diversity and equity and inclusion related to caste for their Nextcloud Summit. And so I'd gone through a very extensive vetting process through that. So, having gone through that, I felt pretty confident that the talk was going to be fairly normal. We had, gone over, what the talk was supposed to be about. They approved my slide deck. An invite got sent out. And that's when dominant caste bigots, within the company, created a disinformation campaign and raised HR concerns related to my talk. And it was so sad because Google News management could not discern disinformation and bigotry from my actual scholarly record. So they made a decision to postpone the talk, and that's what really launched the internal conversation and championing of caste equity by, Thenmozhi Gupta. Eventually the talk was canceled, and, Thenmozhi shared with, all of the Googlers what had happened. And I want to really emphasize for, the Quint's, viewers, the shocking thing here was that, a company like Google asserted through its senior management that caste was not a protected category. And, you could say with most other tech CEOs, oh, we don't really know. We're not, what is caste something in the history? I have no idea what it is, But Sundar Pichai doesn't have that excuse, We have a serious civil and human rights crisis at hand, because if you take a company like Google, they have caste as a protected category in India. So imagine many of their employees in the United States are H-1B and L-1 visa holders. So you have employees who experience the protections of caste, for caste discrimination in one part of the company. The minute they travel, it disappears. At this point, it is really up to Google to manage its crisis of caste. Google must do the right thing and add caste as a protected category. Aftermath of Google's discriminatory actions, we have had bigots try to run doxing campaigns, which is where they're trying to find information about me. They've run disinformation campaigns where they try to smear our reputation and link us to bad elements. But more importantly, they've tried to find my parents and inflict harm on them. And, luckily, because we do digital security, we were able to identify it and move them into a safe home. And our entire family is standing strong in the face of this violence. When I asked them, what are the vetting standards here? What are the vetting standards? They could not say. And I said, would you deplatform Kimberly Crenshaw, who is this Black academic who, created the, and really, shared the concepts of critical race theory and intersectionality? Would you deplatform Kimberly because there were people uncomfortable with the discussion of racism? And she said, I hope not. And I said, but you did it to me. In that context of Twitter, ultimately Dalit women won because everyone now can report casteist hate speech on Twitter because of the advocacy that resulted from that moment. I think that what Ambedkarites are very good at doing is turning pain into power. times in this process that were very trying and very heartbreaking. But, I never lost faith and I never lost hope, because we knew that because of Dr. Ambedkar, what he did, we are where we are today. And it is each of our responsibility to move the karva of justice as far as we can. And so there were many times when I thought about, what he had to endure, that it gave me strength. I also thought about the Phules and how, Savitribai Phule and Fatima Sheikh had to carry their saris with them because, dominant caste people would throw shit and urine and harass them on the way to school to educate women. According to our data, 2 out of 3 Dalits face discrimination in the workplace in the United States. So the things that we have seen is that when caste-oppressed workers are complaining about discrimination, is that they see open usage of caste slurs. For example, we had this one worker whose coworker asked about her caste background, and when she found that she came from a manual scavenging background, she would, comment on her work product by saying, well, we know your people are so mindless, and then shortly after work to fire her. So open usage of caste slurs. There's also disparaging remarks, about reservation, talking about Dalit people as being less than, people without merit, also making eugenics comments that we are biologically inferior and, Brahmin castes are, better at math than engineering, openly saying this in like cafeterias and canteens, as well as in teams and digital workspaces. There's also aggressive attempts to out people in the workplace. And, this might feel unusual for your viewers, but in the United States, many Dalits are in the closet. They do not want to be out in their workplaces because it'll not only follow them in their one team, but it also throughout the terrain of their career. And people hide their identities and people will still aggressively try to go after them, And, there's this little gesture that men do where they pat the backs of their male employees. They call it the Tambram pat, in order to find out if they have the sacred thread, and then knowing if they're one of us, right? So you have aggressive attempts for people to find their caste identity. You also have outright harassment, so once people find out your caste identity, openly kind of denigrating your religious choices, like this happened to me again, but it's happened so many times where people find out that you're Christian or you're Ravadasya, or you're Buddhist, making fun of those choices and then excluding you from social networking and professional opportunities inside of the company. Well, all around the world, if you are a corporation that operates in South Asia or has a significant South Asian workforce, or works in, a country where caste is already recognized, add caste as a protected category to your policy. For companies that have gone through caste equity training, there has been transformations about the ability for caste-oppressed people to report. If you are a company like Google, with a significant South Asian base and a significant economic interest in working in South Asia, an audit of caste equity is really needed, because they've gone so long creating discriminatory conditions inside of the company. We need to be able to understand the extent of harm that has occurred. Having an audit is the only way to hold a company accountable, and having that administered by a third party is, the best option. Then I think all of these companies, in the wake of, the uprising related to, racist police and the death and the murder of George Floyd, made significant contributions to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so they should make those same investments commensurate with caste, because we are not a significant minority. We are 300 million people just in India alone. Imagine how much larger we are. Caste is a system that impacts 1.9 billion South Asians. So 1 in 4 people in the world are impacted by caste.